only with the support of government and the public that changes at a macro level can happen. For sustained impact, social issues have to be looked at as complex governance challenges, and organizations need to understand how to influence policy and measure the impact of their programs. In this segment, we will look at how organizations have been working with the government, how the present government is answering present-day challenges, and the role media plays in sensitizing the public on underserved topics, unheard voices, and the narratives that are crucial to achieving social progress. For this segment, we have our co-organizer, Gautham Ravichander, moderating the panel. He helped us conceptualize this event and has been invaluable throughout with his inputs and feedback. Thank you for that, Gautham. Gautham leads eGov's policy initiatives with the Government of India and partner states. He started his career at Janagra, where he led the Ward Infrastructure Index program and was on the founding team of the Education Alliance. Gautham has a MIB degree from Fletcher, where his studies focused on social enterprises and leveraging business models to reach underserved populations. At Fletcher, Gautham organized and co-chaired the first staff symposium on scaling innovation in emerging markets. Gautham will be in conversation with Arnav Kapoor from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rachita Bora, co-founder and director, India Development Review, and Kakul Mishra, National Program Head, Center for Digital Governance at National Institute of Urban Affairs. Over to you, Gautham.
Thank you, Priyanka. So it's my pleasure to speak to all of you today and to actually introduce the panel for today. It's a very illustrious panel. So you've got Rachita Bora, who's a co-founder of India Development Review. All of you working in the development sector would know that this is a magazine and a publication that we all depend on to kind of look at where is the cutting edge of the development sector today. Similarly, we also have Kakul Mishra with us today. Kakul is the National Program Head of the Center for Digital Governance, and she comes with a lot of experience working in the development sector. And finally, Arnav Kapoor comes to us today from BMGF, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where he heads their philanthropic partnerships portfolio. So the way we will do this is we will have a free-flowing conversation with the panelists, and then we'll go into some more questions based on what they have raised. And then at the last 10-15 minutes, we'll open it up for audience questions as well. So welcome all. I'm going to start with Rachita, and I'm going to say, Rachita, welcome today. Tell us about your journey into the social sector. What made you make the jump?
Thanks, Gautham. It's great to be here today. So, as I was thinking about this, in my close to 15 years of working, I've actually never had a 5-year plan. I've never kind of charted out a career path for myself. But I do think that there are a few questions that I would ask myself before I made a transition, between jobs. And for me, those questions were around, one is, of course, is the role, is the work sort of exciting to me? But the second was, will the job really let me learn and kind of push my boundaries? And the third was really about, the difference that the role can make to the organization's mission. And perhaps it's because of the way of thinking of these that I've never actually had a linear, career path. So I started out working at Swadhar, which is one of India's first urban microfinance institutions. I joined when we were very small, and about 40 people, and stayed until we were about 400 people. And it was a great way to sort of get thrown in the deep end and, learn a bunch of things working at an implementing organization. Then after business school, I felt that I wanted to work at a funding institution, because I felt that just in terms of the potential for impact, if you're working with a portfolio of organizations, it could be greater. So I spent some time at Godrej CSR. They had quite a pioneering sort of model well before the CSR Act, but I felt it was too removed from what was happening on the ground. And so finally, I found my way to Dasra, which is incidentally where I met the co-founders of IDR as well. And at Tastra, I led a 250 crore alliance that was funded by USAID, Piramal Foundation, and a couple of other funders looking to support the adolescent health ecosystem in the country. And that I felt gave me a very good perspective on everything happening in the sector. And in some sense, the seeds for IDR was sown at Tastra. And then shortly after leaving Tastra, we got together with the other two co-founders and set up IDR.
Fantastic, thank you. And with that, I'd love to bring Arnav into this. So Arnav, you've been at BMGA for a while now. It would be great to understand your own journey into the social sector, especially since you started in the corporate sector as well. And you're one of the youngest on the entire list of speakers today, so that also speaks to the high achievement so far. So what advice would you give to people in terms of your own life journey and how you entered the sector? What should people look for when they are thinking of making the leap?
Thanks, Gautham. Firstly, I hope everyone's doing well, safe, and also getting vaccinated if anyone's eligible. Thanks for having me on the panel, and thanks to Ashoka, CSIP, and eGov Foundation. So, like Rachita said, I also didn't have a defined career plan, right? Did the usual, Indian course of engineering and MBA. Landed up in consulting at Deloitte, which was quite interesting for me because, it gave me a chance to actually work on different problems across different sectors. Worked very closely with government, areas in the government sector in the areas like power and so on. I've worked in the development sector as, from Deloitte perspective as a client, and also with the private sector. So it gave me a good opportunity to work across the three sectors and realize, from different vantage points, how each of those different stakeholders approach problems. And I realized that, the problems in the social space are quite deep and quite multidimensional. Which led to me to actually believe that I wanted to go deeper into the sector. So I happened to, pass an opportunity at the Gates Foundation. I didn't have a, plan to stay on for 8 years. I've now been here for 8 years, and the journey has been great. I was inspired by our co-chairs, Bill, Melinda, and Warren, and the vision of, all lives having equal value, but also, solving those problems across various key foundational areas like health, agri, sanitation, education. The vast opportunity that the foundation provided was very interesting for me to go into, given the different sectors we work with. And the journey's been great, right? I've worked in consulting, so I joined our internal consulting team at the Gates Foundation in 2013. That's the first time we were actually expanding our office from about 30 people then to developing a full India country plan. We were primarily working on AIDS before, but then went deeper into other non-health areas, including ag, wash, gender, and so forth. So that role gave me a good, 360-degree view of the foundation, both at the deep end of the work, but also at a process level. So then I subsequently moved on into our poverty alleviation team, worked on the agri area, steered investments, then jumped to our health team, where I was involved in driving a primary healthcare transformation project in one of the largest states. And then came back into a more cross-cutting role, where I'm now leading the foundation's philanthropic partnerships portfolio across both India and South Asia. And our co-chairs, who are philanthropists themselves, are quite keen to, promote philanthropy and partner with philanthropists across the world. So the work basically requires to build out, partnerships and collaborative platforms with foundations, and also shape the ecosystem. Recently we launched a program called Anamay, which is a tribal health collaborative with the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Health. On Wednesday, which is the World Health Day, we hope to improve the health and nutrition outcomes for India, to help achieve SDG 2 and 3. And now I'm also kind of leading more of the global work in South Asia for some of the countries. So I'll say, it's been interesting in the sense I've moved from consulting, came into the internal consulting team, worked across 2-3 areas more deeply, and then went back into a cross-cutting role where I still touch the deeper areas of health, gender, agri, but also look at it from a 360-degree view, and then have also got a global exposure across various areas. So I'll say to folks, the opportunities which you should, which come to you, to not say no to them initially, because you never know how they would, transpire and would lead to you working in different areas. But, just wanted to give that context. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Arnav. And I think one thing worth taking away from what you just said is start with your areas of strength. So you went from consulting into consulting, and that allowed you to actually enter the social sector and continue to actually grow in the space. With this, I would love to come to Kakul now. Kakul, as the National Program Head of CDG, it's interesting because you've had a multi-story journey across multiple sectors. And you've actually gone into multiple sectors at multiple points in time of your life. So you had a more non-linear career path than all of us even on this call. So I guess it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on this. What has your journey been like? What has made you take these leaps of faith that you've taken at various points in your career?
Thank you, Gautham. Yes, indeed, it's been quite a zigzag journey that I've had over the course of over 2 decades. And I'm very happy to share it in the context of the young audience here. I think a lot of sentiments that have been echoed across panelists, which is about what are you good at, and come with the context of you will learn on the job. So, I did follow that standard path of doing an MBA. Having said that, I must say in college, I was a volunteer teacher for Akanksha and always had that tug to kind of contribute towards this development sector. But I'm talking 1999. We didn't have very well-defined paths then as we have now in front of the generation. So I did my standard brand marketing kind of a linear path, but thankfully I got opportunities of working, like Arnav had mentioned, in the development sector with them being a client, and consulting and operationalizing projects. And I worked with the government, I worked with some central ministries in capacity building programs, and that left quite a mark. But again, it was always flirting with this, sector, because there was always this questions, very practical questions: money, growth, what is the career trajectory. Also, I'll be very honest, in the early stages of career, there was always this benchmarking with the peer. What are they doing versus where you are? And there was this imposter syndrome that kind of goes hand in hand with where you are. I think it took a decade to do all that and realize where truly the passion lies. I did diverse work in health, in telecom. I even had a stint as an entrepreneur in skills and livelihood creation. And then I realized that there are such brilliant opportunities which converges your passion and what you have learned. So I'm a deep generalist. Okay, I don't have any, specialist domain, so to speak, except for the fact that I love getting transformation from the context of aggregating, joining dots to solve a problem. And what better problem than the complexity at a national level? And through this course, I think what has happened is I've understood that if you actually take from each experience to the next, and get those fungible skills honed along the way, while you also continuously learn, there is absolutely, I echo the last panel's conversation. There is no such thing as I've cracked this, I'm a cat at this. There's a constant learning journey. Even today, I'm on a learning curve. And this opportunity where I am at today presents a platform where you are able to bring in, and I think it's not just at my level, it's for all the team CDG that I speak to, where we have an opportunity to operationalize, work at policy level, work at implementation level, work at critical thinking, complex problem solving, tech, data, hand in hand with human, 21st century skills and understanding the human and the societal dynamics. So that's how I will put it as. So don't go with the preconceived notion. I think you should go with the flow and take from each experience to the next one.
Thank you so much for that, Kapil. And I think I'm going to pick up on what you just said about skills, right? So question to you now, and then we'll go in reverse order. What skills and attitudes really helped you achieve success early on in your career? And it's useful for us to learn from someone who had to be a bit of a trailblazer back when pathways weren't so clear. And what skills would you urge the new entrants to focus on today if they're looking at building a career in the sector?
So, one thing from a skills context I should highlight, and that really helps. And now we have jargons for this. So I'm going to try and go away from the jargons. Is truly the ability to problem solve. See, the capacities, the complexities of situations are always going to be there. I think it's been nuanced that unlike a corporate environment where it is still a one-to-one or maybe one to some XYZ variables in a development sector context, and if I wear now the government hat and a mission hat, the complexities are much more. But what's very important is to have this ability to problem solve here and now and for the next level, and not try to kind of go at a level of, okay, I'm going to change it all, because it becomes very overwhelming. That's one. The second is what's very, very important. I think I cannot stress enough, and this has layers, is your ability to influence by way of right communication. Now, this is written communication, this is presentation, this is even whether it's a policy document creation, whether it's a procurement document creation. I think communication skills and the manifestation of the communication skills at multiple levels is very important. Stakeholder management. You cannot have the same language for every audience. Your ability to speak at multiple levels. I've been in a situation and in programs and projects where you deal with the CXOs at one side, you deal with the ministers, you deal with the bureaucracy, and then you deal with the beneficiary. The beneficiary could be your SHG, whoever, a citizen. In context of, for example, this program at CDG, I'm going to get in a practical example. We are operationalizing the National Urban Digital Mission. It's about data and tech. Who are our stakeholders? We have industry, we have startups, we have the state, the city administrators, we have the citizens, we have the civil society, we have the research and academia, all kinds of stakeholders. We cannot use the same language for all of them. What is important is your ability to align on a common vision, a shared vision goal, and break it up into what needs to be done. The third thing I'll say is execution excellence, and I cannot harp enough on this. I think whatever you take it with the passion and zeal, and break it up into chunks that you have to do. So that entire execution excellence framework, which is all about being a doer. Let's not just talk, let's do things. So have that hunger, that passion to learn. You may not have all the knowledge levels and the skills level. On context of that, I must highlight, don't think, do I have all the skills? I don't have all the tech skills that are needed. I'm not an AI expert or IoT expert. But here we are translating a Center for Digital Governance by getting emerging tech to be applied in the city context. So have that hunger, passion to learn and apply that learning. So I think that's what I would put the key skills as, and continuously invest in yourself.
Thank you. And I'll kind of underscore what you just said at the end, right? Hunger to learn, apply what you're learning, and invest in yourself. So with that, I'll bring the question back to Arnav. Arnav, what skills and attitudes made you successful in your journey? And what skills do you urge new entrants to actually focus on building? What attitudes should they keep?
Thanks, Gautham. And, what Kakul said, a lot of it resonates with me, right? I think the most important bit is problem solving and critical thinking. I think ability to analyze situations from various stakeholder lenses, gender, community, government, racial, environmental, looking at known unknowns to actually looking at deep unknown. COVID was a deep unknown in the 4-5 months initially, right? And practically no one had any idea how the disease behaves, neither the infection rate, neither the mortality. We are still in the second, third wave, and I hope it goes away soon. But we have a better idea now, right? Many organizations at that time, which were agile and flexible, moved very quickly. They started conserving cash, renegotiating contracts. In fact, many SHGs who we work with, they started producing masks and so forth. Second, I'll say, I think focus on continuous learning and reinvesting, right? I think we need to keep our skills current to keep pace with changes. There is a line in the movie Dil Chahta Hai, right? Hame naye to andaaz kyun ho purana. We need to continuously reinvest. Even a company like Reliance, right, has moved from a polyester company now to an internet company. I'll say, I think third, I'll say focus on collaboration and teamwork. deeply important in the philanthropic space right now. We are also witnessing increased collaboration. We had launched the India COVID Response Fund with Give India at the onset of COVID last year, which kind of became the giving collective for many Indians. Many philanthropists, but also corporates and also everyday givers like all of us participated in the campaign. And more than 250 NGOs participated and actually had, were able to have impact on the ground. I think fourth, I'll say don't say no early on in your career. I think I would say take on all opportunities. Many cricketers, this is the IPL season, start as 12th man, and they move up and down the batting order, as much as the team requires. Sehwag was, we used to bat at number 6 and then moved to the opening slot and flourished. So it's important to get in, because if you don't get in, you won't get any chances. I'll say find mentors, because life is short, you have limited time. The personal experiences that you will learn from them, will allow you to learn, adapt quickly. You won't be running blind, and you'll also get real-time feedback. I'll say a couple of last 2 points. I'll say, focus on creativity, and try to stay away from distraction. I think social media is so distracting. I'm sure people who are, watching this session would have checked their phone or checked messages or browsed another window at the same time of listening to this session. I think we need to focus on deep work and lose yourself in specific activities. And last thing I'll say is perseverance. I think it's deeply important to persevere. I think everyone, has the will to win, but not many people have the will to prepare to win. And that's what you need, right? You need to continuously keep preparing and have that will and have that perseverance. So, thanks.
Thanks, Arnav. I'm actually going to kind of underscore a couple of things that you just said, right? I think the find mentors piece, a lot of us, even I didn't do that early on. Like I didn't actively go out to find mentors. I got lucky that mentors found me. And deep work. So that's a very important term. Everyone on the call, if you've not read the book Deep Work by Cal Newport, pick it up. It's a very quick read, but it helps you really get a lot more structured and focused on producing high quality work. With that, Rajita, I'd love to come to you. Same question, the skills and attitudes that made you successful, and what skills and attitudes are you now telling all the new entrants into the organizations and the sector to pick up and learn?
Thanks. So I echo a lot of what Kakul and Arnav have said, so I won't necessarily repeat that. I thought I could speak a little bit in the context of media for those of you that might be interested in that as a career option. But before I get to that, if you're interested in the social sector and you're young and you're starting out, the best advice I could give anyone is if you're able to do so and have the luxury to do so, go and spend time in the field, right? Take your first 2 to 3 to 4 years of your career, just go out. And there are enough fellowships, there are enough organizations, there are enough opportunities to do that, because that learning is irreplaceable and will take you a very long way in your career. And I think as more and more young people are interested in social purpose careers, it's very easy to stay in our comfort zone. It's very easy to work at organizations in the city or the town where we grew up, and and to go into a desk job every day. But India is changing the whole time, and we don't know what is happening sitting in cities. And so if we want to work in these spaces, we need to experience what these spaces are like. In terms of, I think I would look at it as both sort of hard and soft skills, and both Arnav and Kakul have spoken about, about both. But I think, again, starting out, if it's your first job, sometimes the focus tends to be a lot on hard skills. But if you're starting out, you may not have those hard skills to begin with. But getting sort of the fundamentals of working right, I can't sort of emphasize enough. And these seem like simple things, but when you enter a work setting, sometimes they're not. So simple things like, multitasking. Arnav spoke about ability to handle uncertainty, the ability to prioritize, time management. All of these things help you leverage your hard skills that much better. And specifically coming to the context of media, I think those of you that have, from Ashoka, you all are really well placed for this kind of a role, because you all in a liberal arts education, you all have been being trained about sort of critical thinking. How do you look at a problem from an interdisciplinary lens, and so on and so forth. And that's very much what we need in media. Obviously, good writing skills, I think that goes without saying, good language skills, curiosity, right? Curiosity about the problems, the issues that you're looking at. And, I think sometimes when people look at media, they think of it more as sort of just the journalistic side of it. But now with digital media, there is role for social, there's a lot of room for social media skills, for data analysis, for tech skills, and, even business development, because media houses need to sort of sustain. So again, I would just reiterate, it's not just the writing and the journalistic side. If you're interested in sort of the media space, there's a whole gamut of skills. But start out in the field if you can.
Absolutely. And so actually with that, Rachita, you answered the next question that I was going to ask, which was, since you're at Ashoka today, what are the skills that liberal arts students really bring to the table? So I'm going to go back to Arnav on this. Arnav, what are the skills that liberal arts students bring to the table that a foundation like BMKF and your grantees value?
See, I think before coming into the panel, I think Ravi also spoke about some of this, right? Like the liberal arts students in a rapidly evolving world, and I think the liberal arts course gives a very expansive view and teaches us a few things, some of which I mentioned before, like problem solving, critical thinking, looking at, from various lenses, gender, racial, environment, the known unknowns to the unknowns. I would say looking at aspects like intersectionality of many things, like space, like, gender, you also need to see the role of men and boys in it. We need to understand the LGBTQ community in it. Then you need to overlay, different various facets of rural, urban, working with government, right? So in looking at all of the different stakeholders, I think it's important to do that. I'll also say, just re-emphasizing the point I spoke before on, collaboration and teamwork, right? I think that's is most critical. I think most liberal arts students in their different projects do also, execute those projects. I think you really need to hone that because, you really need to work with different stakeholders, and collaboration is, I think, deeply important, right now. So I think some of which I mentioned before, creativity, problem solving, looking at different lenses, different stakeholders, trying to ask the right questions versus, going into solve the answers, looking at the problem statement from various perspectives and spending more time, with the right question versus jumping to the answer, which we sometimes, everyone wants to answer, but hey, what's the question, right? Which we really need to answer. So I would say, analyze these things deeply, look at both science and art of things. I think it's deeply important, even if you look at data science, right? Like which it just takes more than a left-handed brain now to, actually cull out real business insights. We deal with tons of data these days, and dashboards, I don't think, provide all that information, which is the right, what's the right insight from that dashboard. That, getting that insight takes just more, than having statistical analysis skills, right? You need to understand user-centric design, understand the context, the multidimensional structure, intersectionality, joining these various dots together, like an artist, would tell you from a story from a big data perspective. In fact, for liberal arts, I'll say the word STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, math. I hope it get expanded to say STEAM, where A would come in for art in the future, because I think arts is, you need to have that combination of both science and art, as we move forward. So.
Thanks, Arnav. And so, Kakul, very quickly, since we seem to be repeating, is there anything additional you would like to add to what Arnav and Rachita have said in terms of what you're looking for from liberal arts students and the kind of roles that you recruit for?
So I think most of the ground is covered. I will only wear the hat of the, at Center for Digital Governance, we've been on a hiring spree, and we've really kind of trying to get the best of the talent to operationalize one of the most ambitious missions in the urban development space and digital transformation space. And interestingly, currently in my team, I have more than just the tech roles. I have a very fair mix of liberal arts kind of leading the program associate and research associate roles. I think the skills and the functionalities covered both by Rachita and Arnav cover that ground. I think it's not, the linear boxes don't work anymore. As we say, digital transformation is more about humans than digital. So it's as simple as that. So the creativity, problem solving, communication, very important, collaboration. CDG, NUADM is all about partnership and getting and aggregating that towards a program implementation. So absolutely, it's go for the kill. If you have that passion, go for the kill. And it doesn't pay badly, by the way. Huh? This is something that's a convergence and checks box. It's a lot of hard work, very decent money, and great sense of accomplishment in terms of what you're trying to do.
Thanks, Kakul. So with this, I think I'm going to come back around to Rachita, and I'm going to touch upon one critical topic that Arnav brought up, the importance of mentorship in your personal careers and journeys. And I will ask you to kind of talk about what mentors have shaped your career path, and what do you get from mentors? What decisions did you take because of a mentor that you would not have taken otherwise? And then I'll come back to Arnav and Kakul with the same question. Rachita?
So I think like you, Gautham, I didn't go out actively seeking mentors. I was fortunate enough to be in organizations where people became my mentors over time. And honestly, in terms of support, it's been a range of things. It's, the beauty of it is that it's been small things. How do I have this conversation or negotiation about my salary? Is it right to say this? Is it wrong to say that? To bigger things like I have these 2 job offers in front of me and I don't know which one to take, and it is a fork in the road, and how do I kind of decide? And I think for me, having a mentor is just, it's the power of having somebody who has walked the path you are walking before you, has lessons, has insight, has perspective. And when you are flipping out about something, which happens from time to time, they're there to kind of be in your court, but at the same time, give you sort of just sound advice and put things in perspective for you. And one of the co-founders of IDR, Smarnita, she was actually my mentor at Dastra, and over time we've become friends. Now we're partners, but over the course she has been a mentor and actually continues to be on many topics as well, even now.
Follow up on that itself. Are you mentoring anyone these days? And if you do mentor people, why do you mentor people?
I would like to think that, I am in an informal setting mentoring people within our team at IDR, because we're still a small organization. We're about 40 people. There's a lot of interaction between sort of, and younger people on the team. And the reason I do it is, I think people, other people. I think it's very much human nature. And I think I remember being in some of these situations, 10, 12 years ago. And I think that if I can help somebody else navigate it a little more easily, because I might have some perspective to share, then I'm happy to do that. I wish that I had that at different points as well.
Great, thank you. With that, Arnav, I'm going to come to you. Who has mentored you along the way? What have you gained from mentorship? And are you mentoring anyone today?
So, like Rachita was saying, I also didn't seek out mentors formally. I don't even know, who I think of as mentors think of me as a mentee. But I've cultivated relationships along the way with, with various people that I've worked with, both either senior or, EPR, or even juniors in that sense, because, there's opportunity to learn from everyone across the board. So, in most cases, it happened kind of organically because I've been proactively seeking feedback. I think two or three areas where mentors have really helped, I would say, one is, various choices from a career standpoint that you would make, right? Should I join Deloitte? Should I join Gates? Should I go back and take some other opportunity in the private sector? Should I join a startup? I mean, these are all, various things which will come to you, right? So it's always, always very helpful to speak with someone, get their perspectives, who's kind of seen it from various points, have done it, gone through various situations in their own, own careers. So it helps you bring a sounding board, I'll say, in many cases, right? Second, I'll say even in day-to-day, day-to-day jobs, or even in classroom, right? There are so many different, I would, fire drills or critical projects that you might be working on, and you can always, walk up and learn from their own stories on how they navigated situations, whether it's with government, whether it's partnership with other philanthropists, or with the private sector if you're doing an investment. What are those key things to always have a lookout for? So it's also helped learn quickly some of these things rather than learning them on the ground, which will happen organically, but like a company which grows through acquisition very quickly, from 1x to 5x, that advisory that you'll get from a mentor can help you in the same way. And to your question on me again mentoring, so I don't know whether I'm again qualified, or people who I work with in an informal setting think I'm mentoring them, but I always do try to share what I've learned, and provide honest opinions and honest unbiased thoughts on looking at things from both pros and cons and different vantage points. And I think it's important to give back, whether it's formally or informally, because that's how you'll actually cultivate various professionals and various people that you work with.
Thank you, Arnav. Kakul, very quickly, same question to you, and would love to hear more about both your mentors, your mentorship journey, as well as people you're mentoring right now.
I do wish I had a structured mentor. It's been more of a discovery learning in my context, honestly, and experiential learning by way of, leveraging the journeys of people you have crossed paths with. But yes, I think the journey would have been more constructive and maybe more enriching if I did have a mentor. And with that hat on, one of the things I always do is be accessible, irrespective of hierarchy, structures, whatever, at workplace. I think accessibility is a very key thing. And I must say it's great to see the young generation. They are so much more forthcoming, and so clear about their demands and their own thinking. I've seen that kind of switch, if I may say so, across structures, across corporates, development sector, and it's a two-way process, by the way, and that way, in that context, mentee, yes, in that context, definitely the team and also the extended co-workers, and you equally learn from them, because it's always a two-way street in that sphere. That's how I'll put it, Gautham.
Thank you so much. So I've been told we have about 5 minutes, and there are questions from the audience, and I believe the team at Ashoka has curated some of these. So I'm going to throw them to the panel. Feel free to jump in and take a question if you want, and then I'll go to the other two people quickly. So question number one from the audience is, if you're looking at creating larger systemic impact, what is the role of joining CSR, nonprofits, NGOs? And here's an interesting one. Would it be easier to actually join the government and work in the public system itself? And I think, Kakul, I'm going to direct this to you, since you are today the voice of government here.
So I will wear the hat of voice of government and say absolutely. The platform with the PPPs and structures such as Center for Digital Governance, and we have many such structures coming forth now with various missions, are very powerful platforms to drive systemic change. Bring in your voice, bring in your talent, merging the boundaries of private and public together and getting it going. So absolutely. And if I just put a metric out there through NUDM, we are trying to truly get municipal service delivery across 4,400 ULBs of India going over the next course of 4 to 5 years. So, and in a very systemic way, by the way. This is not just a big, hairy, ambitious goal out there as, one of the statements. That's our mission mandate, and that's our KPI. So needless to say, that's the place to be in. And if you get an opportunity, it will be a career-defining move, definitely.
Thank you. Rachita, same question to you. Should you be in government, or can you create impact from outside as well?
I think in a country like ours where there is so much work to be done, it is possible to create impact, even outside the government. I'll speak specifically from the role of media where I sit. I think there is no better time than now to be a journalist, to tell the stories that need to be told. When Priyanka was introducing the sessions, she spoke about sort of underrepresented voices, unheard narratives. We all see what's happening in the country right now, and I think that if you want to create impact for the country, being a journalist is definitely a great way to do so.
All right. So with that, I'm being informed that we are completely out of time and the next panel is waiting on us. So thank you all for your insights today. I've learned a lot listening to all of you, and I'm sure the students did as well. Thank you for participating.